What if the one thing standing between you and the life you want is not talent, not money, not connections, not luck, but something so simple that most people ignore it completely? What if the secret was never hidden? What if it was right in front of you every single morning when you woke up and chose to do nothing about it? Here is the truth nobody wants to hear. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not closed by one big move. It is closed by one small decision, repeated over and over, day after day, when you feel like it, and especially when you do not. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear will completely change the way you look at your life. And I am not going to waste a single second of your time. The force I am talking about is consistency. And more specifically, the decision to force yourself to be consistent when every single part of you is screaming to stop. When the voice inside your head whispers, just this once it will not matter. When the easy road looks so much more inviting than the disciplined one. When the couch is comfortable, the excuses are ready, and the motivation has packed its bags and left the building. That is exactly the moment that defines you. That is the crossroads where your future is decided, not in some grand dramatic moment, but in that quiet, invisible choice you make when no one is watching and nothing is forcing you. Most people collapse at that crossroads. The few who do not, those are the ones who build something extraordinary. You see, most people believe that success is complicated. They think it demands some rare formula, some secret code that only a chosen few have ever cracked. They spend years searching for the magic strategy, the perfect plan, the one system that will finally unlock everything. But here is what nobody told them. Success is actually straightforward, not easy. I want to be completely clear about that, but straightforward. Success is nothing more than a few simple habits practiced faithfully every single day. And failure, real, long-term, life-crushing failure, is nothing more than a few small errors in judgment repeated every single day. Read that again. The difference is that thin. The margin between the person who builds an incredible life and the person who wonders where the years went is not measured in intelligence or opportunity. It is measured in consistency. The difference between a successful life and a wasted one is so small, so quiet, so subtle that almost everyone misses it completely. It is not the dramatic moments. It is not the mountaintop decisions. It is the ordinary Tuesday morning when you choose to open the book instead of the television. It is the Saturday when you lace up your shoes and go to the gym, even though nobody asked you to and nothing is on the line. It is the moment at the end of a long, exhausting day when you do the work anyway. These moments feel insignificant. They feel like they do not matter, and that is exactly why they are so powerful. Because the people who understand that these moments matter are the ones who end up with a life that most people only dream about. Every single small choice you make is either a brick in the wall of your future or a brick removed from it. But here is something that almost nobody talks about honestly. Consistency is not natural. Let that land for a second. Human beings are wired for impulse, for instant pleasure, for the path of least resistance. We are emotional creatures. We chase what feels good right now. We run from what feels uncomfortable right now. And discipline, real, sustained, daily discipline, forces us to fight against those instincts. It asks us to do what we know we should do rather than what we feel like doing. And that fight is hard. That fight is exhausting on some days, but it is the most important fight of your life. Because every time you win that fight, you are not just completing a task. You are rewiring your mind. You are reshaping who you are. You are building a version of yourself that future you will be grateful for in ways you cannot yet imagine. And that is exactly where the real magic lives. When you push through the resistance and force yourself to be consistent, you are not merely forming a habit. You are forging character. You are training your mind the same way an athlete trains a muscle. Under pressure, under resistance, under the weight of discomfort. And just like a muscle grows stronger through that resistance, your character grows stronger through your consistency. Here is a truth that will follow you for the rest of your life once you truly understand it. How you do anything is how you do everything. If you cannot show up consistently for the small commitments, you will never show up consistently for the big ones. If you cannot keep a promise to yourself about going for a walk every morning, you will struggle to keep the bigger promises your ambitions require. The small disciplines are not beneath you. They are the foundation of you. Let me tell you about something that the most financially successful people in the world understand deeply. and it applies far beyond money. It is the principle of compounding. When you put money aside and let it grow, something remarkable happens over time. The interest grows, then the interest on the interest grows. And before long, the numbers begin to accelerate in a way that seems almost impossible. But here is what most people never realize. That same force of compounding applies to every single domain of your life. It applies to your knowledge, your health, your relationships, your skills, and your character. Every day that you read, you are not just absorbing information for that day. You are becoming a deeper thinker, a sharper communicator, a more capable problem solver, and each of those gains compounds on the gains from yesterday. After 1 week, the change is invisible. After 1 month, it is still hard to see. But after 1 year, after 3 years, after 5 years, the transformation is so profound that people who knew you before will barely recognize who you have become. Most people never experience that compounding because they are not consistent enough to let it build. They read for a week and stop for a month. They start exercising and quit after 2 weeks. They begin saving money and drain the account the moment something tempting appears. They are constantly starting over from zero. And starting from zero every time means you never build momentum. You never reach the point where the consistency begins to carry itself. You never arrive at the stage where the habit becomes automatic and the discipline becomes natural. And this is one of the greatest tragedies I have ever witnessed in people's lives. They rob themselves of the one thing that could transform everything, simply because they are unwilling to stay the course long enough for the compound effect to kick in. Do not be that person. The cost of consistency is small. The cost of inconsistency is your entire future. Here is something I want you to sit with. Every person who has achieved something remarkable in any field, in any era, under any circumstances, shares a single common characteristic. They have learned to do what needs to be done whether they feel like it or not. That is it. That is the whole secret. Not talent, not intelligence, not timing, not connections. The willingness to act when action is required, regardless of how they feel in that moment. They have learned that discipline weighs almost nothing compared to the crushing weight of regret. Think about that contrast. The discipline of waking up early feels heavy on a cold morning, but the regret of a wasted decade feels like it will suffocate you. The discipline of saving money feels restrictive, but the regret of financial desperation feels like chains. Choose the lighter weight. Choose discipline every time, because the short-term pain of discipline is never as bad as the long-term pain of regret. Discipline is the bridge. It is the bridge between what you think and what you actually accomplish, between the spark of inspiration and the moment of true achievement, between knowing what you need to do and actually doing it. Without discipline, you are a ship with no rudder, pushed around by every wave, every emotional storm, every distraction that comes your way. You drift toward comfort when you should be moving toward growth. You drift toward entertainment when you should be moving toward education. You drift toward the easy choice when you should be making the right choice. But with discipline, everything changes. With discipline, you become the captain of that ship. You set the destination. You chart the course. You make the daily decisions that move you closer to where you have decided to go. And nothing, not bad days, not setbacks, not lack of motivation, can knock you off course permanently. Now, let me be completely honest with you about something, because I think a lot of people misunderstand this. Forcing yourself to be consistent does not mean you have to feel excited about it every day. It does not mean you have to wake up energized and on fire every morning. In fact, if you are waiting to feel motivated before you act, I have some news for you. You will be waiting for a very long time. Motivation is not reliable. Motivation is an emotion, and emotions come and go like weather. One day it is sunshine and you feel unstoppable. The next day it is gray and heavy and you cannot find the energy to do anything. If your consistency depends on your motivation, your consistency will be as unpredictable as your emotions. And that is not consistency at all. What you actually need is discipline. Discipline does not care how you feel. Discipline shows up on sunny days and on stormy days with the same level of commitment. Discipline is the decision you made yesterday that protects you from the weak version of yourself today. Discipline is also the highest form of self-respect you will ever practice. Think about what you are actually saying when you keep your commitments to yourself. You are saying, I matter. My future matters. My goals are worth protecting. My word to myself means something. That is a powerful message to send to your own mind. And every time you break that commitment, every time you choose the easy path over the right path, you send the opposite message. You tell yourself your goals are negotiable. Your word means nothing. Your future does not deserve protection. And over time, those repeated messages shape your identity, your beliefs, and ultimately your results. So understand this deeply. Discipline is not punishment. It is not suffering. It is the greatest act of love you can show to the version of yourself that is waiting on the other side of your effort. And here is a perspective shift that changes everything. Every single day, without exception, you are either moving toward your goals or away from them. There is no neutral. You cannot pause the journey. There is no standing still. Every choice is either a deposit into your future or a withdrawal from it. Every consistent action is an investment. Every inconsistent day is a cost. The bank account of your future is being filled or emptied by the choices you make today. And the beautiful and terrifying truth is that the deposits and withdrawals are small enough that you cannot feel them in the moment. The impact of missing one workout is invisible. The impact of skipping one reading session is undetectable. The impact of spending instead of saving just once feels harmless. But stack those small withdrawals day after day for months and years, and one morning you wake up overdrawn, wondering how you got here. Do not let that be your story. Now, there is something else I need to address, because this mistake destroys more momentum than almost anything else. Consistency does not mean perfection. Say that to yourself. Consistency is not perfection. It is commitment. You do not need to execute flawlessly every single day. You do not need to never miss, never stumble, never have a bad day. What you need is the refusal to let one bad day become two. The refusal to let one slip become a spiral. The refusal to use one moment of weakness as permission to abandon everything you have been building. Progress, steady, imperfect, stubborn progress is the goal, not a flawless performance. The most destructive thing you can do to your own momentum is to demand perfection from yourself and then quit when you inevitably fall short of it. You will fall short. Everyone does. The ones who win are the ones who get back up the next morning, without drama, without self-pity, and simply continue. The most accomplished people you have ever admired are not the ones who never failed. They are the ones who failed the most because they tried the most. Every failure is information. Every setback is a lesson. Every difficult period is training your character for the challenges that are coming. The people who understand this do not fear failure the way others do. They respect it, they learn from it, they use it, and most importantly, they do not allow a temporary setback to become a permanent surrender. They understand with every fiber of their being that the ability to persist through failure is the ability that separates extraordinary lives from ordinary ones. It is not about avoiding hard times. It is about continuing through hard times. That is the whole game. Now let me share with you what actually makes consistency sustainable, because willpower alone will eventually run out. The real secret is not about grinding harder and gritting your teeth through every single day. The real secret is building systems, environments that make the right choice the easier choice. If you want to read more consistently, do not rely on remembering to do it or feeling like doing it. Put the book on your pillow. Set a specific time. Block it on your schedule the same way you would block a doctor's appointment. Create the conditions that make reading happen automatically. If you want to exercise consistently, do not rely on motivation showing up at the right time. Lay your workout clothes out the night before, schedule specific sessions, find someone who will hold you accountable, remove every possible barrier between you and the action you are trying to take. Systems are what carry you on the days when willpower is gone and motivation has disappeared. Build the system, and the system will do the work when you cannot. Here is something extraordinary that begins to happen when you commit to true long-term consistency. The things that once required force begin to require less force. The disciplines that once felt like a battle begin to feel like a routine. The habits that once took effort begin to happen automatically. And then one day, you cannot point to exactly when it happened, but one day you realize that you are no longer forcing yourself. You are simply being yourself. The consistency that you once had to fight for has become your nature. The person you were pushing yourself to become is now simply who you are. And this is the deepest, most profound reward of the entire journey. Not the achievement, not the result, not the external recognition. It is the identity. It is the transformation of character. It is the moment you realize that your daily actions and your deepest values are perfectly aligned, and that alignment is the most peaceful, most powerful place a human being can live from. But I want to talk to you about something that does not get discussed enough in these conversations, and it is the idea of self-trust. Every single time you make a commitment to yourself and follow through on it, you are making a deposit into your self-trust account. Every time you say you are going to do something and then you do it, even when it is hard, even when no one is watching, even when you could easily talk yourself out of it, you build an inner foundation that nothing external can shake. And the opposite is also true. Every promise you break to yourself, every time you negotiate with your own standards and choose the easier path, you chip away at that foundation. You begin to doubt yourself. You begin to wonder whether your commitments mean anything. You begin to hesitate before setting goals because some part of you no longer fully believes you will follow through. Self-trust is the most important kind of trust there is, and consistency is the only way to build it. Every day is a vote. Vote for the person you are choosing to become. Think about the ripple effects that real consistency creates in your life over time. And this is something that will take your breath away when you fully see it. When you are consistent with your physical health, your energy rises. When your energy rises, your focus sharpens. When your focus sharpens, your productivity increases. When your productivity increases, your results improve. When your results improve, your confidence grows. When your confidence grows, you take better care of yourself. And the cycle feeds itself, each element lifting every other element. The same cascade applies to every domain. When you are consistent with learning, your decisions improve. When your decisions improve, your outcomes improve. When your outcomes improve, your belief in yourself strengthens. When your belief strengthens, your willingness to learn and grow deepens. This is not a metaphor. This is the actual mechanics of how a well-lived life operates. Consistency creates cycles of positive momentum that eventually become unstoppable. And your only job is to start the cycle and keep feeding it. Let me speak to the person who feels like it is too late. The person who has started and stopped so many times that they are not sure they have another beginning left in them. The person who looks at the gap between where they are and where they want to be and feels overwhelmed. I want to say this directly to you. It is not too late. It has never been too late. The best time to be consistent was years ago. The second best time is today, right now, this moment, because the compound effect does not care how long you waited. It only cares about when you start and whether you keep going. Every single day you choose consistency from this point forward is a day you are investing in a future that will be better than the one you would have had. You do not need a perfect past to build an incredible future. You only need a committed present, and the present is always available to you. I want you to understand something about the identity shift that happens inside a person who chooses consistency over time. At some point, you stop seeing consistency as something you do, and you start seeing it as something you are. You stop identifying as someone who is trying to be disciplined and start identifying as a disciplined person. And this shift changes everything because your behavior follows your identity. When you see yourself as someone who reads every day, you read every day. When you see yourself as someone who takes care of their body, you take care of your body. When you see yourself as someone who finishes what they start, you finish what you start. The labels you place on yourself become the standards you live up to. So be deliberate about the identity you are building, because every act of consistency is a vote for a new identity, and enough votes over enough time makes that identity undeniable. Now let me bring this all the way home, because there is one final truth I want to leave with you, and it is the most important thing I will say in this entire message. Consistency is not a strategy. It is a way of life. It is not something you apply temporarily to reach a goal and then abandon. It is not a sprint. It is not a phase. It is the permanent operating system of a life lived with intention. The most remarkable lives you have ever witnessed in any field, in any area, were not built in a single burst of effort. They were built day by day, choice by choice, in the quiet moments between the applause. And the people who built those lives did not do it because they were more gifted or more fortunate. They did it because they decided at some point, at some moment, that they would refuse to let a day pass without doing something that moved them forward. They made consistency their identity, and everything else fell into place as a result. So here is your challenge. Not starting tomorrow, not starting next week, starting today. Choose one area of your life, just one, where you know you have been inconsistent, and make a commitment to show up for that area every single day for the next 90 days. Not perfectly, not flawlessly, just consistently. When you miss a day, do not spiral. Just show up the next day. When the motivation is gone, show up anyway. When it is hard, show up anyway. When you do not feel like it, and there will be many days when you do not feel like it, show up anyway. And then watch what happens. Watch your confidence build. Watch your results compound. Watch your self-trust deepen. Watch the version of yourself you have been imagining slowly but surely become the version of yourself you actually are. Because that is what consistency does. It does not just change what you do, it changes who you are. And once you change who you are, everything and it falls into place. The time is right now. The opportunity is here. The only question that has ever mattered is this simple one. Will you begin?